Okay, can you hear me? Testing, test, test. All right.
Now, do you want to put it on here?
You're going to make me laugh. You can't sit there.
You want me to sit?
That's really... Test, test. Is that okay? That seems really loud. I can hear myself breathing. That's really, really loud. I feel like I can project my voice loud enough. I know it's for the video. Okay.
He's turning off the one inside here.
Okay, perfect. Yes. It seems like it would. Oh, wow, that's loud. Okay, well, it's 4 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get started if we're ready. Are we ready? Are we good? Okay. Well, I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Katie, and this is my home church, which I love very much. I haven't been able to be here as much as I would like, but welcome to all of you who are guests here. I do not claim to be an herbalist, so I just want to put that disclaimer out there. This is all knowledge that I have learned and researched over many, many years. Mainly my interest in learning how to make and grow the herbs and make herbal products stems from, I have 4 children, and my daughter back here, Lydia, when she was born, she struggled with skin. She had so many skin problems when she was little, and what they wanted to put her on were steroids. They wanted to do topical steroids and all kinds of stuff, and I was just like, there's no way I'm doing that. And of course, we used cloth diapers and all that, but she would just burn herself. I mean, her skin, eczema is an autoimmune disease, actually, I've found out through the years, and it just compromises your whole immune system because your skin is an organ, and so when you have this on your skin, it inflames, and then it just made her system weak, and she would just catch everything. So I was just... So it was so important to me to find some natural remedies to help her as a child. And so then it just grew. My love of herbs grew, and I just wanted to grow and make things and help people. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to learn about some basic herbs that you can grow and just some ways that you can incorporate them for your own health and skincare and beauty and that sort of thing. But I think Martha wanted to start first.
I just want to get this on the recording. Hi there, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. Sorry I was in here just a tiny bit late. I'm Martha Renfro, and most of you have probably met me or talked with me. And I am the director of the Lost Skills program. And I just wanted to give you a little background, those of you who haven't been here. The Lost Skills program started in February of 2023 as a monthly program to try to help people learn new skills, or not new skills, old skills that we haven't learned from our parents or things like that. And, with all the economy and the state of the world and everything, it's so much better if we can be at least a little bit sustainable, self-sustainable, can have have things available to us and know how to function in a world of chaos, So we have taught all kinds of gardening classes, bread making, pantry management. We've even done car maintenance and things like that. And canning, did I say that? So all of in your packet or on the next flyer for the next program, it will tell how you can go back and see the previous programs. We have them recorded, almost all of them, and you can go back and look at those if you would like. So we're just glad that each of you came this afternoon. And we like to start with a little prayer so that our minds are fresh and, the Lord speaks through Katie and that we can understand it well. Dear Father in heaven, we thank you so much for your creation and for all the herbs and the plants that grow. It's such a miracle that things can grow from a seed. And we thank you that you've given knowledge on how to use these plants, either medicinally or for health products or for beauty products. Lord, thank you for that. And I ask that you will speak through Katie, help us to understand how we can use these things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Martha.
And Katie, I haven't seen everything that you've done. I just have heard little things, and so I'm excited to learn.
Okay, well, thank you. And Martha, thank you for this opportunity. I love this whole idea of lost skills. I just think it's brilliant, and I think that it's a great thing, great opportunity and resource. So, okay, again, I'm Katie. I love herbal products, and we're going to talk about some of those and how you can make them today. And please, if you have any questions, raise your hand. I've never done a presentation like this. I've had friends over and we've made stuff. Public speaking isn't my favorite skill set, so bear with me. And please, if you have questions, just let me know. So you do have a handout. Everybody should have a handout. It's 4 pages long, and most of this is just resource information for you to take home. But I'm going to start out with just talking about some common herbs that I grow that are easy to grow here, that even you can forage. And I'm a tactile person, I'm a teacher, so I have a lot of hands-on stuff, and feel free afterwards to come up and look at these things. The first flower I have here this is calendula. This is a really, really great skin herb. It is one of the best, and it is so easy to grow, and I have seeds as well for people to take. And it's beautiful. Not only is it useful and beneficial, it's just a beautiful flower to have in the garden. And another really great thing about calendula is, I have a whole garden bed. This has bloomed since May, and I've been harvesting flowers since May. So it's something that you can just harvest all summer long. And then if you don't pick the seeds, the next year you will have lots more calendula in your garden. And this here also is just a muslin bag that I have with the dried flowers. Here we have yarrow, which you can harvest. It grows here wild in Michigan. You can also plant it. Don't confuse it with an ornamental yarrow, which has color. This is the medicinal yarrow that you would use. Something really basic you can find in your yard everywhere is plantain. This is a very, very useful herb for bee stings and bug bites, and it's just a really great friend. Like, even my students at school will know if they get a bee sting or a bug bite. You can just literally chew this leaf up with your saliva, put it on the bee sting, and it really does alleviate the pain. It's got those tannins that are necessary for that. This here is not as beautiful, and it's been drying and wilting a little bit, is comfrey. Two of my ultimate favorite herbs you have to have in the garden are your calendula and your comfrey. Comfrey is just a great all-around plant. It's not only useful and beneficial medicinally for our bodies, but you can use it as a compost tea. You can use it as, what else do I use this for? As a cover crop. It also, if you grow it around your fruit trees, it is really great. It puts tons of nitrogen in the soil for other plants. So this is very useful. Okay, so what I have here, so the first thing is growing your herbs or finding a good herb source. One, if you do not have them and you're eager to get started, is you can go to Mountain Rose Herbs. That's one of my favorite sources online to get the dried plant materials, and they also make tons of other products. But if you want to experience doing this yourself, you can get the dried herbal product there from different sources, but one of my favorites is Mountain Rose Herbs. So then you either grow your herbs or you get your materials, and you are going to take any size glass jar for whatever size that you want to do. As you can see here, I have the 2-quart for this is St. John's wort flowers that I wild harvested up in Manistee, Michigan. It grows wild, and you know, you don't want to get plants that are roadside. They've been exposed to the dust of vehicles and exhaust. So you really, if you're gonna wild harvest herbs, you want to get away from the road. You want to get into the fields and places where they're not being exposed to that stuff. Or of course, grow it yourself. So that's that size. And what I have here on your paper is that there are 2 types of infusions that you can do with herbs to pull out their properties. There's actually a third that I've just discovered, and I can mention it and you can look it up. But what we're going to focus on right now is cold infusion, and then there's also hot infused oils. Cold infusion is what I am a go-to for, and I'll explain why. It's you pick your herb. Now, St. John's wort, you need to do the fresh plant material. Okay, so you're going to want the fresh flowers, and then you're going to pick your carrier oil. And I also have a reference page in your handout for the different types of carrier oils that you can use. I'll just go through a few here. One of the main ones that I choose, just because it's basic, it's easy to find, is your olive oil. What you're going to want to make note of with your oils is the sourcing. You want, when you're working with olive oil, and I have this here, you're going to want extra virgin or cold pressed extra virgin or cold pressed olive oil. And that just keeps the oil in its most natural state. Okay, when they use the term refined, they are taking the olives or whatever they're making the oil from, and they're taking it through a process that isn't so natural. So you want to get the oil in its most natural state. So it's pretty basic to make your cold infused oils. You just take your herbs, and I'm going to do one with you now. Calendula, you can use the fresh, and as you will see, these aren't completely dried out, but we'll just go ahead and use these. I have sterilized this jar. Anytime you're working with herbs, you want to make sure that all your materials that you work with are very sterilized in hot water. You can even put your oven on a low temp, just like you would with canning, to sterilize jars. So you just basically take your herb, and you're going to, now with dried, I pack it a little more. With fresh, don't do so much. You want to leave some headspace. And basically what I'm just going to use today, I've got avocado oil, which is great. I've written here in your different carrier oils, you're going to use different oils depending on what you're planning on using your infused oil for. If you're going to use your infused oil for your skin or for your face, especially for the face, you're going to want a lighter oil like a jojoba oil or a sweet almond oil. Those are also really good for when you're working with babies. You want to use an oil that's really hypoallergenic and gentle to their skin. Calendula is an amazing herb for babies. It's great for diaper rash. It's great for massage. It's such a great skin herb. I have this here written down, and you'll have to excuse me. These are just kind of jotted notes. They're not complete sentences. They're just kind of notes for you to follow. So for here, I have calendula as an anti-inflammatory herbs that will help your skin's natural regeneration. So when you have scars, stretch marks, that sort of thing, it is going to actually help to regenerate that. It's great for rashes, skin irritations, diaper rash, stretch marks. It's a wound healer. It's also said to be, and you can do a little more research on this, but natural sunscreen in combination with other things. Now, I wouldn't just put calendula oil on my skin and be like, oh, it's sunscreen. So just do your own research. You can combine it with things, but this is an ingredient that they use. And actually, after sun, it's great to put on. So if you have a little bit of a sunburn or you've been out in the sun too long, it's great to put on your skin. Calendula is also known to help with anti-aging for wrinkles. People do use it for fine lines and wrinkles, eczema, dermatitis, minor burns. I just love this herb. I can't go on. I could go on and on. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to do the sweet almond oil. And this, you can just purchase these at a health food store, Whole Foods, anything like that. And then you just, like I said, make sure your jar is sterilized, add your herb, and then you're just going to add your oil. And you want to take it pretty close to the top. Now, some people, and I've got a little friend floating in there. Just gonna grab that. Actually, it's not a friend. Those are borage flowers that I put in there. Some people like to take a like a chopstick or some kind of dowel rod, and just you can see the bubbles coming up. Just kind of want to make sure you're getting all the air out of there. And you can push those herbs down. You can see all those bubbles coming up. And the problem, what happens with cold-infused herbs that people will run into is if the plant has a high oxidation level, like comfrey. Comfrey is not an herb that you're going to want to do cold pressed because it releases oxygen as it breaks down. And that can make your oils go rancid. Okay, because the cold infused process is, it's going to sit for 4 to 6 weeks, even up to 8 weeks, depending on how anxious you are to use your product. But definitely 4 weeks, I would say max for your cold infusion. So this is how easy that is. You pick your herb. You can, and like I said, you can use calendula fresh. Some people say, as a note, just dry all your herbs. You can use a dehydrator. You can let it sit out. Sometimes I'll just take a basket, obviously something that has holes or screens so that it can breathe, and let it sit for a couple of days and it'll dry. And then you can put it in your oil. And like I was going to say, some people put parchment paper layer between the cap lid and the top of the jar just so it doesn't rust out your, I don't seem to have a problem with that, so I don't do it. Just make sure your parchment paper is like an unbleached organic type of parchment paper. And this process, this jar right here, I've already had, and then the next important step, label, 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 okay? So, because when you start doing this, you'll be like, oh, shoot, did I do that a month ago, 3 weeks ago? You can't remember. So you just go ahead and write the name of your herb. So I write calendula, and I put what my carrier oil was, and this was sweet almond oil. So I write that down. So I just calendula and sweet almond, and then I put the date. And today is 7/28. And you can do 24, but hopefully you're decanting your herbs before a year is up. Okay, and I usually just stick it on top of this guy right here, put my thing down, and there you go. So that was pretty easy. So this is a chamomile and calendula blend. So you can also blend. You don't have to do just one singular herb. You can, I had lots of chamomile this year, and as you can see from your list here, chamomile is also soothing to the skin. It's got lots of great anti-aging properties, and it fights the free radicals. Some people say it's like a natural bleach for your skin, chamomile. So a lot of people use it for rosacea or dark spots on their skin, aging spots. Another great skin herb. So I love to use these two together, and I do have this infused in a jojoba oil, which is really great for the face. So people also who have like rosacea or a problem with a really red, irritated skin, chamomile is really great for that. And I also combine this when I get to the salve part making. And this is German chamomile. There's a difference between the Roman and the German. You're going to want the German. That's where your main medicinal plant properties are going to come from. And then you can use the German chamomile essential oil, which adds extra benefits there. And these are only a sampling of herbs. It's really the sky's the limit. You've got lemon balm, you've got all kinds of herbs, and you can research. But the hot infused method is only one method. Cold infused. So you sit these on the shelf, and 4 to 6 weeks, or even up to 8 weeks, and then you will take some kind of, and I actually found a reusable one. I think it's those bags that you can wash your vegetables in. But this is just a natural, unbleached cheesecloth. And you basically, once your 6 weeks is up, you just take this. I use a rubber band. One of my favorite tools are these glass Pyrex things, because they always have, your measurements already on there for you. And I'll just decant it into this. This is great because it has the pitcher style. Then you're just going to want to have your other clean, sanitized jar. The importance of this is you do not want any bacteria already in these jars, because the oil sitting in it would react to it and make your oil to go rancid. Now let's say you open up your jar. So every couple of weeks you want to go down, wherever you have your herbs stored, a cool, dark place is where you want to have them. You don't want to have them sitting in a sunny window. That's a misconception. You want to keep them in a cool, dark place. Every week, give them a little shake, and sometimes you want to do a sniff test. Open up the jar and just take a sniff, because everybody knows what rancid oil smells like. It doesn't smell great. So if it has that, you either want to use it up real quick or you want to discard it. Like if it's a really bad rancid, I dump it. That's what I do. You just don't want to have a rancid oil. You don't want to use that on your skin. So that's the cold infused method. Does anybody have any questions about that? I went through it really quick. So that's cold infused. The hot infused is and that's a process where you would take a crock pot or an Instapot. And the way I do it, especially with these guys, is I'll cut them up really fine. Or you can even use a food processor to get them more powdery or broken up really well. Same process. You take your jar and you are going to put your herbs in there and fill it with the oil of your choice. And for me, the slow cooker, you just use the slow cooker and you cook the herbs. You do not ever want to heat your herbs over 110 degrees. Okay, that will kill the medicinal properties. You're boiling your herbs, and you don't want to do that. You want to always, if you're going to do the hot infused method, keep your temperature below 110 degrees. So you can take a crock pot or a slow cooker and just put your chopped herb and your oil in there and let them sit for a couple of hours, 3 to 6 hours. What I've done is I take the Instant Pot and I actually go ahead and fill my jar with the herb and the oil, and I put it inside the Instant Pot with water. It goes about halfway up, and I put it on the warm setting. I don't think it's the warm, I think it's the yogurt, one of those settings that just keeps it warm. And I do that for 24 to 48 hours because it's not a very high temperature. So, and you will see the differences in colors with your herbs. Now, St. John's wort always makes a really beautiful pink color, and then calendula is a really beautiful yellow, and it also depends on your carrier, but the comfrey and plantain make a beautiful green. It's just really fun. So that's a faster method if you're anxious to get your herbs faster. Obviously, the cold takes a little bit longer. Yeah, so basically, depending on what you're going to use your infused oils for is what carrier oil you're going to want to choose. And so that's why I have the resource list for that. There's, so many different great qualities about each plant. I did put a note on there. If you have tree nut allergies, you want to be careful because, you've got a lot of seeds here. The sweet almond wouldn't be for you. You're not going to want, if you have a tree allergy, you're not going to want to put that on your skin either. And always when you're working with a new oil, if it's something new to you, do a test on your skin first, okay? Don't just rub it all over yourself because, different people can react differently to different herbs. So we always want to take care to just make sure we're testing that we don't have an allergy. Yes?
Where do you get the jojoba?
You can get jojoba oil anywhere. You can go to, and they usually come, like this brand now, makes a container like this. I also, and this company right here, Amazon, you can find carrier oils anywhere. Just, I like to support local businesses and companies, and that's why I say Mountain Rose Herbs. Of course, you might pay a little bit. It might take a few more days for it to get to you, but you're supporting local businesses or, smaller businesses. So yes, jojoba is all these herbs that I have all these carrier oils that I have listed here are very easy to find. And they are different for different things. They're really great. What was I going to say? I was going to say the allergies and, okay. So labeling is important, sterilization is important, sourcing your materials is really important. Let's see. And these muslin bags are really great too. Like if you're going to grow your own herbs and you want to dry them yourself, this is just something. And I think I bought a pack of like 20 of these and they had all different sizes. And so I will just pick my herbs, the chamomile, the calendula, yarrow, and just stick them down in my basement that I have. So I have a nice little spot to store all my oils and my herbs. Okay, so that's the hot and the cold infused. Someone did recently, or I stumbled upon recently, a way where you can, oil is a great way to pull out medicinal properties of the plant, the fatty acids and that sort of thing. But alcohol also does the same trick, and it has a longer shelf life, and it tends to have more potency. So another way that you can do this, you can look into it. I wish I written down the name. I think it's alcohol something, but you take your herb, blend it up into a really fine powder, let it sit in a very small amount of alcohol, like 1 or 2 ounces of alcohol overnight, and then you blend it on a high-speed blender for 5 minutes with your carrier oil. And so there's not really going to be, the alcohol is just going to evaporate off and you're still left. But what's happening is that alcohol is drawing out the plant properties faster, and it, has a really high shelf life, a longer shelf life. Does anybody have any questions about these herbs? Yes?
Is that a normal alcohol?
It's like a vodka, but you're going to want 80 to 90 proof or higher. Mm-hmm. When you're preserving any herbs and alcohol, you're going to want to use an 80, 90 proof or higher. And that is a kind of a different topic. Mainly what I'm covering today is using herbs topically and for the skin. Using herbs internally is a different ball game. It's kind of the same process, whereas instead of using a carrier oil, you're going to use a brandy or a vodka to do your herbs. And obviously you're taking very small dosages of that. And another option is glycerin. That's another option instead of alcohol, is people have used glycerin. People have also used apple cider vinegar doing an infusion to take internally. So those are other options, but that's not really what we were covering today. But if you have questions, that is something that I've worked with and that I do on a regular basis with basic herbs like oregano, which is amazing in the garden, and other things like that. And someone was mentioning, and I don't see her, but another great thing is you can do culinary herbs in oils. So olive oil, you can pick your basils and your garlics, and you can use those for cooking. And this is the same process. So you can pick your rosemary, and you can take your rosemary stems and your garlic and put them in olive oil or whatever your choice cooking oil is, and you let it sit for 4 to 6 weeks. And then you strain out your herbs, and you have a great culinary herbal oil for your...
How long does that last?
Okay, so shelf life for these oils, you want to use them up within a year. Any oils that you cold or hot infuse, this shelf life is going to be about a year. So you want to use them in some fashion. Now, this way, after you've decanted the herbs, you want to decant the herbs after 4 to 6 weeks because they will just rot in there and go rancid. So you want to pull those out. But once you have done that and you have just the oil and you've taken the herbs out, it's a year-long shelf life. And then it's as we move into the process of just making a basic salve, which, guys, I'm telling you, is so easy, and it's so beneficial for just having in your remedy closet, your first aid kit, whether you're backpacking or hiking. It's just a great resource. So what you do to make your salves, if anybody doesn't have any more questions about hot and cold infused, we will move on to the process of making putting it into a salve. Now, I will tell you, you can just make face serums and body oils just from your infused oils. You do not have to make them with beeswax to make a cream or a salve or a lotion. You can just use the oil, which is great. Like after you take a nice hot shower at night and you can lather up. And picking your carrier oil is going to be important as to the absorption. Like nobody wants to feel super greasy, but there are some oils that absorb faster for the body. So you would just do your infusion of, say, avocado or sweet almond. Those absorb very quickly, and they're lightweight oils, and they're great for the face and jojoba. So you would take your chamomile and your calendula, say you want to do for a face serum, and you wouldn't have to make a salve. You just strain it out, put it into a little bottle with a dropper or a little pump bottle, and then in the evenings after you wash your face, you just put your oil on there. A lot of people say, "What? Oil's on your face?" Telling you, it's great. It's really important for your skin, for nourishing your skin. Okay, so for then making your salves, it is super basic. You take your infused oil of your herb, and you pick. I choose beeswax, and we have a lot of bee people in our church here, and so I have in the past sourced locally from our beekeepers and get a big chunk of wax, so that's also an option. And then, or you can just buy. Now this is white, but it's organic, so it's not been bleached or anything like that. This is just a different type of beeswax. So you just take your beeswax and your infused oil, and you get some supplies. Now, does anybody know what this is? I was so excited when I found this. This is a vintage double boiler. So basically all that is you got one pot and then your other pot that sits on top. And what this does is basically you put your water in here and I don't ever let it boil, but you let it get really warm, and then that will not cook your herbs or your oils, but just melt them down. So when you're working with beeswax, I put my beeswax in first and get it going, melted, and then I add my oil. Again, the same policy here is important in that you don't want to boil your herbs. You don't want to heat them. You don't want to cook them. You're just trying to melt your beeswax or whatever carrier you're using. You've got your cocoa butter, your mango butter, and shea butter. You've got all different kinds of things that you can use. But for making salves, you generally use a wax, and I stick with natural beeswax. So you are going to measure out, and I think I have a recipe for you in here, but the biggest thing when making your salves is it's a 1-to-4. So 1-to-4 ratio when you're making salves. And that's wax to oil. So if you're working with 1 cup of your oils, that's going to be 1/4 cup of beeswax, and so on. So you just have to make sure that you have the correct ratio, because what's going to happen is you're either going to get a goopy mixture, or you're going to get something that's rock hard and you can't use. So the 1-to-4 makes a very nice, easy to use. Obviously with salves, you're not going to want to leave them sitting in the direct sunlight. You're not going to want to leave them in a hot vehicle. They're going to melt. That's what happens to beeswax when they get warm. So you just want to be very careful about putting things, yeah?
Would the 1-to-4 ratio work with beef tallow?
With beef tallow, I've never worked with beef tallow before, but I know it's a popular thing that's,
Yeah, we made a salve with plantain,
okay,
beef tallow, and we just like played with it. Until
Okay.
we got the right
ratio.
consistency, but we don't know.
what it was. I would say beef tallow is not really a wax, right? So what's the consistency of it? That's what you're gonna have to,
It's more salt, it's more,
is it more like a butter?
um, yeah.
Kind of like this mango?
More firm than butter.
Okay.
Room temperature.
I think that's the game of it, is trying to figure out that balance, because some people prefer something a little thicker and some people like something a little softer. So I think doing home products, that's the fun part. It's a little bit of chemistry in there. But that is the ratio when working with beeswax, is the 1-to-4, wax to oils. And so all you basically have to do, you definitely want to use a double broiler, but if you don't have a nice vintage one like this that I found on Facebook Marketplace, I was so excited, you can just use a pot with a pot. So you can use a larger pot and put a small amount of water, and then put another pot just kind of resting inside there to just melt your stuff down. And that works as well. I've done that before. And also, you just want to stick to like organic materials when you're mixing. You can use metal or you can use wood. I prefer wood. And so that's all you do. You just measure it out, and once it has become a complete liquid, which is pretty quick. You don't want to like start that and go away and clean your house and come back. You want to watch it. As soon as that beeswax has melted, you go ahead and have your containers sterilized and prepared and ready and dry, okay? Don't wash these and leave water inside your containers. You want to make sure you have all the moisture and water out. So these, and what I'll do is just, do the hot water. I basically take all my containers that I'm going to make my salves with, get a big bubbly sink, wash them all, put them out to dry, and then take a paper towel to just make sure the lids and the bottoms are free of water. And then you just basically want to have a container that has a nice little pitcher spout thing, and fill your containers, and again, label, and then that's it. And then you have a beautiful salve. Up here I have samples of the calendula, comfrey, and plantain that I've made. Super easy, I think. Yeah, this is the comfrey. You can see the beautiful green color in there. And I guess another topic we can touch on a little bit is, some people like to scent these with essential oils and some people don't. Some people just don't want a fragrance. I think that really has to do with personal preference, but I will state and tell you to go do your own research that essential oils also have, the benefits of the plants that they're. So lavender is going to have, and it has great benefits for skin. Frankincense is amazing for anti-aging and for skin. So this is one I use for the face. Clary sage, geranium is really great for anti-aging. And then of course, if you're doing your comfrey like I've read here, they've been using this for centuries for bone issues like fractures and breaks and muscles and joints and bruising. I just took care of my mom. She had a double knee, she had a complete total knee replacement, and I had made one of my salves for her, which contained the calendula and comfrey, and I also do magnesium in that. and some other good things. But when she went for her post-op checkup, he said it was phenomenal. He said it just looked amazing. And so, you know, I attribute that to God and giving us these wonderful plants, but it also really helped. She has a lot of skin where she gets, you know, these bites, and then it just feels like it takes weeks for them to go away. And she was like, oh, this is amazing. It's helped all these bites. So I've seen this work, and that's why I keep doing this. Like I said, I've used it with my kids. I have friends that I've given it to who say, wow, this is really helpful. And that's what brings me joy, is when it's helping people, you know, when you can grow stuff and do stuff and it actually makes a difference. So essential oils, you're just gonna have to choose. With comfrey, I like to do a cooling with the peppermint, and it's nice for the muscle. You know, so that's really kind of personal preference, but I would say do your research, because when you blend essential oils that have good benefits for whatever you're looking for, whether it's the skin or the face or, you know, an ailment that you have, do you get lots of bruises? Do you have age spots? So do your research on your essential oils, but note this, when you are making anything, you do not want to put your essential oils in when it is being heated. You want to wait after you've brought it out of the heat, take your spoon, stir it a little bit, let it cool, and then I always add a dropper full of vitamin E, pure 100% vitamin E to my stuff, and then that's when you do your ratios of your essential oils. Essential oil is always a 2% ratio of whatever you've made. So if you have 100% a cup, so you're gonna put 20 drops in that. So it's a 2% ratio. You just don't, you're not using a lot of this. You're using it more for the properties rather than making a huge perfumey scent, if that makes sense. It should be subtle. It shouldn't be very strong. But do not add that when it's hot. Add it right before you pour, and then you pour and you cap, and you can leave it right there, and it'll take it a little bit. It'll take 30 minutes for it to solidify. If you're impatient, you can stick it in the fridge. So any questions on basic salve making? So that is just a really basic, your infused oils of herbs and your beeswax. Very easy, very low cost, very efficient. And then I have, like I said, given you some resources as far as which oils are great, which herbs are great, but that list is exhaustive. I could have done 4 or 5 pages of different herbs that you can grow in your garden. Lemon balm is one. Just make sure that you're paying attention. If you're not sure about the oxidation rate of your herb that you're choosing, dry it. Just dry it. Don't use it fresh. So I would say that as a rule of thumb, if you're not familiar with your plant as much. Comfrey for sure. You're gonna wanna dry that first before you use it. Plantain I use fresh. I usually dry my yarrow. Yeah, it just kind of depends. Other great tools, you know, just having your measurements, this little sieve that you can use to do your straining, or your cheesecloth. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions on that?
96 drops equals something.
96 drops? Yes. So for this recipe that I have included here, that is the 2% percentage for this recipe right here. Because it is not only the third, it's about 1 cup of oil. Yeah. Yeah, so that doesn't seem like 2%, does it?
I'm just trying to get it in.
Do the math.
Yeah.
You know what, though? I will tell you what's different about this recipe that I've put here, which has the water. It's a water-based, oil-based. It's not just the oil, so it's actually 2 cups. Do you see that? So it's 1 cup of magnesium brine and about 1 cup of different oils. That's why that ratio is a little different. Does that make sense? And it's not, you know what, I'm not like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not my style. Some people feel comfortable with that. But I kind of know how many milliliters are in that dropper full. So 1 dropper full is like 10 milliliters of essential oil. So like a dropper full like this. So, I'm just kind of this person. Just be careful because you don't want to burn your skin. You obviously want to have that good ratio because some essential oils are really, they can cause reactions for people. So that's the only reason for the 2% dilution. You just want to be careful. And yes. Oh, you can get it right in the yard. You just go right outside. I just picked in my yard. Oh, you're thinking bananas. This is the plantain herb. So there's a difference between the plantain bananas and the plant. Yeah, so this is just the leaves outside, and those are really great.
The plantain, I don't know if you turn me on. The plantain herb comes in two different kinds. There's a long, narrow one, and then there's a wide one.
Yeah, the wide one is the one that I prefer for medicinal uses.
Yeah,
I don't like
that's good.
I don't use the narrow one.
No,
It's
look
so
in your
common.
lawn.
It's so common.
Look in your lawn, or anywhere where weeds are growing or whatever. I've seen plantain a lot of different places, but boy, when I moved to where I live now, I mean it's this big.
Yeah.
It can be
Yeah,
really
they
pretty
can
big.
be really large.
Broadleaf or something like that?
I think it does have that. There are a lot
could
of other
be.
names for plantain broadleaf.
Yeah.
And this would be that one.
Yeah.
And they can get very large. These are just the small baby ones.
Yeah.
Everything else is not growing plantain.
It's a weed. Most people would consider it a weed because it does take over. But it's great. It's a great plant. I mean, I think it's so interesting too that when you go through the woods, you might rub against some nettles, but then right there nearby is jewelweed. So it's the what would you call that when you have a plant that is an irritant and then anyway. Yeah, the antidote is right there beside it. So, when we lived in North Carolina, that was, you'd rub against some nettles, but then all of a sudden there is jewelweed. And jewelweed you can just break apart and rub on that. Yes, it's great. So there are so many. This is just touching on a very small fraction of the things. What I'm trying to do today is to show you how easy it is to make your own products at home. And it's so cheap. I mean, really, it's really great. Yes.
If you go over these ratios again, where it says 1/4 cup of wax to 1 cup infused oil, then creams down here, I don't know if I'm getting all that.
Okay, basically, when you're just going to do a basic salve, so your basic salve is your infused oil and your beeswax. Those are the two ingredients with that. 1 to 4. 1 to 4.
And that's just by itself.
That's it. So if you did 1 cup, 1/4 cup. If you did 4 tablespoons, if you just wanted to make 1 4-ounce thing, 1 tablespoon. So it's just that simple. It's really easy math. But
And then the creams,
okay, so I haven't gotten there yet. I'm not doing a demonstration on that today because it is a little bit more intensive, but I'm going to explain it. And then I said other products that you can make from infused oils. You can make soaps. You can make bath salts and soaks. You can do face serums. I'm experimenting right now with deodorants because even the natural deodorants on the line, I feel like they work for a bit and then they don't work for a bit. So I'm trying to do a little bit of research on that because who says you can't use a cream for deodorant? Why does it have to be what we've always constructed in our minds to be a deodorant? It can be a cream. It can be salve. So, just experiment. If this is your thing, I just do research, experiment. It's fun. I love it. Lip balms. And so my biggest thing that I've been experimenting with lately is I've hit the age where sleep doesn't come as easily, and they say that magnesium, everyone is most likely deficient in magnesium. And so I was like, wow, that would be really cool. Let's try to add that into a salve. So A salve, from what I have here in the explanation, is a salve or a balm or an ointment are usually just the wax-based. When you start getting into lotions and creams, that's when you're adding an oil and a water together and you're blending them to make an emulsion. So you want to have and they have resources online where you can put in your different, because I know they have a soap calculator where you can put in your different oils and your different bases, and they will tell you how much lye that you need to add. And so that's really beneficial. I just kind of come up with my own recipes of things that I want to use. But magnesium chloride is the one that we can use topically for our skin. This is the one that as I've researched, is the most absorbable by the skin. Now, some people will put magnesium brine in a spray bottle, and you can spray it on your skin. But for most people, especially if you are deficient, you're going to feel tingly, you're going to feel itchy, and that's not a comfortable feeling. Nobody likes that. So when you blend it with other things that are great and beneficial that will go into the skin, you don't have that sensation. I know when I use my loaded butter, is what I call it, magnesium cream at the end of the day, I feel it instantly. I feel the magnesium and I feel the comfrey. It relaxes my muscles and I feel great. So to make a brine, it's 1-to-1. 1 cup magnesium chloride, 1 cup hot water. And you add your magnesium brine. So you add your magnesium flakes. And this is a very small bag, but you can get very large containers of magnesium flakes. So,
Where do you get that at?
Amazon. Yeah. And the Now brand actually has a very large jug of magnesium flakes. But you just want to make sure of the type, because there are different types of magnesium that they sell. So the magnesium chloride, you make your brine 1-to-1, 1 cup magnesium, 1 cup close to boiling water. I mean, you can even use boiling water. You just want to let it cool down. So it's just, the whole point is to melt the flakes and the magnesium. And you will see as that cools down, it just becomes, at first when you mix it, it's very cloudy and white. And then when it's completely cooled, it just looks like water. So make sure you label that too, because you wouldn't want anybody to get into that. Once you make your magnesium brine, you pick your other infused oils that you would like to use and any other butters and there are so many on the market, and these I did not put as a reference, but they're easily, you can research the different things, but mainly for nourishment of skin, you've got the shea butter, the cocoa butter, the mango butter. There's so many different ones. I choose a lot of the times shea butter. It's very moisturizing. It's also anti-inflammatory and like antimicrobial. So those are the things that are going to keep fungus and things from getting infected. And so it also has other great benefits for the skin. Then you take your double boiler and you're going to choose those infused oils and those butters. And I even, for the recipe that I have here, you can add, I think it's 2 tablespoons of beeswax. And this is all depending on how you want that lotion to be. Do you want it to be thick? Do you want it to be a little more runny? It's all personal preference. But I do add, along with my butters and oils, a little bit of wax. So once you have your oils nice and melted all together, take them off your heat, and then let's say you have your magnesium brine and something like this. And the reason I use this is because it's perfect to just go ahead and use your hand blender. And you can do it right here in this. And then it's easy to pour or easy to scrape out. You want whenever you're mixing water and oils together, and this also has to do with soap making, you want them to be the same temperature, okay? What's going to happen if you put, we know the whole story about oil and water don't mix, right? So if they're different temperatures, that's going to make it extra hard for them to emulsify and to mix. So you want them about the same temperature. So you let your magnesium brine cool completely, and your oils to cool down, but not to the point where they're starting to harden again. So if you're watching them and you're taking the spatula, you can see, okay, the wax is the butters are starting to harden. So you want to go ahead and put your brine in, mix your oils, get your emulsifier, your hand blender, or whatever you're going to use. Before, when I lived in Turkey, I would even just use my blender. I would just put everything in my blender and put it on and whiz it up. But of course, like I said, I will repeat that this is so important. Sterilize, sterilize, sterilize. Whatever you're using, whether it's your spatulas or your mixers or your containers or your blender, please sterilize everything, because if you get any bacteria in there, it's just going to ruin it. It's not going to be any good. And you want to avoid that, especially when you're using stuff on your skin. So then it does take a little bit. The blender's a lot faster, but with this hand blender, and sometimes I'll blend it and I'll see that it's cooling, but I need to come back to it. So I'll give it 2 or 3 minutes. I'll walk away, come back, and keep mixing it until it's to the consistency that I like. And then you just put it in your containers and label it, and there you go.
So when you're wanting both of them to be about the same temp, you can just use one of those thermometers?
You can, and that, yeah, something that you would use for soap or for cooking, just the thermometer. You know, like I said, I'm kind of one of those, you can tell I'm not an exact kind of person, but I'll either make a bunch of magnesium brine ahead of time too and keep it in a jar, or as this is cooling down, you can watch those temperatures and get them about the same. And then you can add them, and it's a lot easier. And it's the same concept when you're adding the essential oils to this kind of oil and water mix, is wait until you've started, you know, right before you're doing your emulsion. You can add your oils, you can add your vitamin E, that sort of thing. You just don't want to heat those things up. And you mix it and you pour it in your containers, and you're good to go. Are there any questions about that? It's pretty self-explanatory. Have you ever worked with magnesium before? And that's another great thing, magnesiums, yeah. And so that's another thing that's really fun too, is I was like, oh, I have all these really great herbs when you've decanted them. And so that's a really fun thing to do, is you can take the magnesium flakes, you know, Ancient Minerals is one that I really like for soaking in the bathtub, and you take your plant matter that you've decanted out of your oils and mix it with those magnesium salts, and then so they don't get all over your bathtub. And I'll mix in a little bit of French clay or something like that, and then put them in these little bags and put them in your bathtub. Oh, it's so nice. But it keeps all the herbs from getting all over your tub. So that's really fun. I've been experimenting with that a little bit. Let's see. So that's pretty much it with health and beauty. I feel like with the resources, you can kind of pick and choose what's going to work really well for you. These are easy herbs that you can grow in your garden and work with. Carrier oils you can get. And then also another great resource for just the herbs that you're growing in your garden is for household cleaning. Is really easy. And what I do is I'll take vinegars. So just, I mean, we go out and we buy all these fancy cleaners for our house, but it's just so cheap and easy to use stuff that I think this bag at Costco is, I don't know, like $3 or $4, and you can get like 4 of these for $5. I use a lot of vinegar. I just am doing the same kind of infusion with lavender flowers and vinegar here, and you guys are welcome to come up and smell this afterwards. And then another thing is I have pine trees all around my house, so pine, and these are like lemon rinds, because I do lemons every morning, so I just keep all my lemon rinds and soak them in vinegar, and then they're great for cleaning. So I decant the herbs, and then I just fill up a glass spray bottle. Because, you know, when you clean with vinegar, it's really strong and it doesn't smell the best. But when you infuse it in lavender or pine and lemon, it really has a nice smell. And actually, the lemon adds to the cleaning agent. So it has different cleaning agents. And then I'll just use like a basic Castile soap for different mixtures. And then I did have a recipe. I don't know if I printed it out. Vinegar is great for weed killing too. So vinegar, a little bit of soap, and what's the other ingredient? Salt, yes. So it's like 1 cup salt, 1 gallon of vinegar, and like a squeeze of dish soap or something like that. And you just kill weeds. It's great. We have a fence line, and my husband was going crazy just weed eating that every year. I was like, let's just kill the weeds. And then it's not damaging like anything around in your garden. It just is very natural and
The pines, is that just pine needles?
yep, just pine needles from the tree. Just went out and cut a bunch and stuck them in a jar and filled it with vinegar. And then, oh wow, did I go over? Or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
Um,
you have another half hour if you want it.
Yeah. That's just for questions, if people have questions. Did you want to say something?
Well, I was going to ask with your products, like the cleaning products, what all would you use that for with the vinegar and, you know, the lavender or whatever, you know, what
This
in a
is in my
spray
kitchen.
bottle?
This is all I use in my kitchen, and I just spray down my sinks, and I spray down all my cabinets. Not my cabinets, my countertop. You want to be careful with wood surfaces using vinegar, because that'll strip your wood. But countertops, bathroom counters, toilets, just everything. And with the baking soda, that adds that the abrasion when you need the extra cleaning powder. But I will also just take this and do lavender flowers in it. It makes it smell nice. I just take a jar and I'll fill it with baking soda, and another great easy thing is laundry detergent is super easy to make.
Well, I tell you what, this is one area that I have on the list for next year, is household cleaning products and stuff like that. So that's one thing.
Because there's so many. Well, now we're running into the issue of the one-use plastics that we all kind of want to get away from, but we're all stuck in this grind of like, well, what else am I going to do? So, it's just finding other alternatives. But we bypass these old-time things that they've been doing for a really long time. I mean, people will say, oh, yeah, my grandmother used that. And, it still works.
Yeah.
So,
How long do they soak in the vinegar?
I mean, I think this one's been...
Can you repeat his question?
He said, how long do you soak it in the vinegar? I don't think it matters. You obviously longer, 4 weeks, but I think this has been in here for months. Because I just stick it under my sink and then I fill this up. And I don't, I'm halfway through that and just,
And I don't think you would have quite the
No, you're not going to have a rancidity with
No.
with vinegar.
No,
and
not with
plant matter.
vinegar. Vinegar would be killing it.
It's a preservative,
Yeah.
so it's just preserving my pine needles and my lemon rinds if I wanted to use them for something else. And this smells amazing. I'm excited about this. This is the first time I've done the lavender in there. But look at that color. Isn't that gorgeous?
How do you mix your baking soda with vinegar?
Well, actually, I don't mix the two because we know that reaction. Okay. So what I would do is I have one of those stovetops that's the flat stovetop. And so I'll just sprinkle my baking soda onto the stovetop and then spray my vinegar. And then it makes that abrasive kind of cleaning agent, I guess, like an Ajax or something like that. So that's kind of, I don't mix them together because then you're just going to get a volcano. Yes.
Okay, so what's your super easy, laundry detergent, and then how does it work with a front, what's your super easy laundry
Laundry
detergent,
detergent.
and how does it work with like a front loader that likes the HE?
A front loader. I think it's a powder form. So what I always did was I took a mason jar and I would, the old felt, how do I say this? Felt naphtha soap that you can get. I used to make my kids use the grater. You remember those days? Yeah. And grate down that soap. And then, so you do 1 bar of the felt naphtha grated down, and then baking soda, like a cup of that, and then it's borax was my recipe that I used. And then you can add essential oils, which make it smell nice. But it's all a matter of preference for people as far as the essential oils. I never really added essential oils.
So how much your borax?
How much? I can get you a recipe. Yeah, I haven't done it in a while. I've been kind of busy, and it's the whole act of making it. I mean, when my kids were little, I had way more time. But it's so cheap, and it works. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do you filter out the plant products and use the spray bottles?
Yeah. So this I just fill, just take it through a cheesecloth or a sieve or something like that. Get rid of your plant material, and then just put your vinegar in your spray bottle.
Yes.
I mean, it's,
Till you're dead.
yeah, it's going to last longer than you. No, seriously, it's a preservative.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and so speaking of preservatives really quickly, you will notice that I didn't put anything in here. So your shelf life for these kinds of salves is going to be 3 to 6 months. I mean, I've had mine last up to a year and not had to pitch them out, but I would just say a general rule of thumb is you want to try to use your natural products within 6 months, 6 to 9 months. Vitamin E oil is a natural preservative, and magnesium salts is a natural preservative. So when you're making those types of products, you know that they last longer. But because I do sell my products, I just make sure people know that stuff has a shelf life.
So, you said they'll last that long. How do you tell when they aren't any good anymore? Is it a smell?
For these,
Yeah, is
for
it
anything
smell?
with oil, you're going to tell by the smell, or it's going
Rancid.
to start to grow some mold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mold
Yeah,
or
you'll
smell?
see it. Yeah, you'll
Okay.
see it. And that's why, if you're like sharing this with people, it's nice to use a little something to scoop it out and apply rather than dirty fingers, if that makes sense. Because if you're just putting your dirty fingers in there, that's going to add to the likelihood that it'll go rancid faster. So you can use a little wooden something to put it on. But for me, especially with the magnesium, I don't worry about it because this is such a heavy salt. But with these kinds of products, yeah. 6 to 9. It's not really the refrigeration that's going to make a difference with that. It's just the shelf life of oils. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can refrigerate them, but I don't. Did you have a question back there?
I think you answered hers.
The detergent proportion, borax, what else? Baking soda and what else?
Yes, I will have to get you guys that recipe. I just would fill a mason jar. So I would just take a 2-liter mason jar. I would grate the felt naphtha, and then I would probably put like a cup of baking soda and a cup of borax and mix it all up.
What are you grading?
Oh, this is for laundry detergent. This is we kind of went off on a side note. So we were talking about natural laundry detergent.
And what are you grading? I didn't hear.
It's called felt naphtha. It's a bar for 99 cents. And if you go to Walmart and you look down on the bottom shelf, but it's 99 cents. And that jar will last, depending on how often you're doing laundry.
So you do the whole bar?
Do the whole bar with a grater, or you could put it in a food processor. I don't know. I mean, just chop it up fine.
Half a gallon jar. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Well, this is 2-quart jar.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 liter.
And then what was the other, a cup each?
Yep, a cup of borax and a cup of baking soda.
And that gives you laundry.
Laundry detergent.
How much do you use?
Scoop.
A scoop?
Yeah.
It's dry, it's not, you don't have.
It's dry. I mean, there have been people I know that make it into a liquid form. I just don't have time for that in life. I am like, just make it simple. But,
You throw it on top of your laundry.
yep,
So is a scoop about the size of one of those?
Yep, 1/4.
salves?
About a quarter cup
like a
scoop.
quarter cup, yeah, 1/4 cup scoop. I mean, it really depends on how soiled your laundry is. Now, if you've been out in the garden and everything is, you know what I'm saying? It's like just play with it. Yeah. So just and you can kind of tell, but it never caked. It never, had those chemicals in it for cleaning. So it's just pretty basic. I was really hot. Sorry, I was super sweaty up here. I get nervous too. Does anyone have any questions? I think that was the end for me. Salt? Oh, soap. That's a whole other program. That's a different process.
Yeah.
But it's very similar to, I think I'm a hands-on learner, and I feel like that's something that you have to watch to make. That's how I learned, and but that is very easy to make. And, you know, there's so many things that you can do with soap nowadays. You can make shampoo bars, you can make, you know, and it is a very easy process to make soaps. It is.
Well, this has been extremely interesting. And as she has mentioned, you know, you have to do your own research. You have to do what I liked about this when she sent me her outline and things. I said, good, it gives us more of a broad, there's so much to learn. And it just gives us an idea of what we're really looking for. And then for our own needs, we can kind of decide, okay, I think I'm going to start with this one. And you'd probably suggest just start with one, you know, and try it and then keep going.
Play with it. But I do highly recommend, my favorite herbs for the household are the comfrey and the calendula. And they're easy to grow and they're great. Like I said, comfrey in the garden is amazing. All you have to do to make comfrey tea when you get a ton of this growing, because it will take over. So if you buy a comfrey plant or you buy comfrey seeds, which I tried to have, but I had a mouse eat. It took a lot of work picking all those comfrey seeds out of the flowers, but some mouse out there is really happy right now. You want to put it somewhere where it can just go, where it can just grow, because it will take over.
I just want to say too, that there's a type of comfrey, if you're going to put it in your yard, that might be better. It's called Blocking 14. It's a Russian variety, and it's a sterile seed.
Okay.
But I think it's still very viable.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will not spread. It just stays there. It just gets slightly larger.
But I like the spreading one because, I mean, obviously, if you have a huge garden too, you can use this as like a cover crop, and then you can mow it down, and you can use it as a mulch, and it's amazing. And to make the compost tea, you basically just pick those extra leaves, put them in the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket, fill the bucket up, and I just put a brick on it to keep them under the water, put it there for 2 days, and then you have compost, instant compost in 2 days, and you just pour it on, you know, whatever you're wanting to give an extra boost.
And
Just comfrey,
Just comfrey leaves with
yeah,
water.
and 5-gallon,
5-gallon bucket?
how much
What? Water?
comfrey do you put in?
however
I mean,
much,
Yeah.
however much you want, just
I fill it.
yeah.
I fill it, put a brick on it, fill it with water.
Is this the same thing where they're chop and drop?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you drop
Yeah, they use
fertilizer or
comfrey is very good for chop and drop. You know, they just chop it up and
It's great
drop
for your
it down.
compost. It'll activate your compost and get your compost going.
So I was going to say, even though this is sterile and you can't spread it with seeds, all it takes is one tiny piece of root and you put it
Yep.
anywhere
And it's going. Yeah. Yep. And that's another thing.
you have control over where it goes.
Comfrey too, just do your research. It's great for the skin and the body, but internally, just there's some disclaimers. So just do your research. Anything that you're going to take internally, and even put on your skin, just do
Right.
your research.
Right.
I heard one time, so just, maybe I heard wrong, but it was like oil, like you're doing your fresh herbs with oil, and maybe it would create salmonella and it'd be very dangerous.
Well-
Is there?
Botulism, Ebola, and that's why I'm telling you, you need to be careful. So as a rule of thumb, go ahead and dry your herbs, because
okay.
that's going to come from using a fresh plant and the oil, and it goes rancid, because some
Okay.
plants have a higher oxidation rate than others. So,
Okay.
so chamomile and calendula, no problem fresh. I've done it forever, and I've never had a problem with it, unless I've let it sit too long. Oh shoot, I forgot. 6-7 months have gone by. I smell the oil. Dump it out. So that's kind of human error. That's not really the plant. That was my error. But definitely dry your comfrey, or do your hot infused. Hot infused, you can use fresh, because that's the quick method. That's the 24-hour method that I was telling you. Okay, so if you're heating the oils, it's gonna get all that oxygen out of it.
How do you dry it?
You can hang it. That's the way I do it. I just give it some time to dry. I think this has been sitting out in my workshop for like a day. I think I just picked this the other day. So it's already, dry.
With the plantain, I just laid it on a shelf, a wire type shelf, and let it dry.
Yeah, or you could use a dehydrator. I mean, that's an expensive purchase. Plantain, I do fresh too. That's also an herb I've never really had a problem with doing fresh.
Yeah.
Just make sure too, like I said, take a dowel rod, push down your herbs, and just let all the oxygen kind of come out of until you're satisfied, and then just put the lid on and check it, Be kind to your herbs. Go check them, shake them, smell them, talk to them. I don't know. That's what I do. I go down there, I'll be like, hey guys. My kids are like, who are you talking to?
Okay.
But anyway, you're welcome to come look at anything, smell anything, touch anything.
Thank you so much, Katie. It was really, really good, and thank you. Let's thank her. Now, as we finish up, we're going to have, I've made some kale chips over here. You can help yourself to that. And
your
we
tea.
have a tea. Yeah,
A
we have an
delicious
iced.
tea.
We have an iced tea. I'll tell you what I have in it.